and one person who was very close to making a pretty big impression in Dubai on Friday with her star, Mr. Professor, who was third, was, well, now second season trainer Alice Haynes, who's made a very, very bright start with 23 winners already from her Newmarket base, and she joins me in the studio now. Alice, great to have you with us. It's been a whirlwind start for you, hasn't it, from taking up training for God knows what reason in the middle of a pandemic?
It was something to pick up during lockdown. No, I sort of have to keep myself grounded because everything I've done so far, we've got to build on for this year. But yeah, what a start.
Yeah, so when you started, you hadn't even started this time last year, and you have a few horses. What sort of targets were you setting yourself?
Yes, we had our first run at the end of February last year, and we said, right, we had sort of 10, 12 horses, 10 winners was the target. We sort of got there, and what I'm like is keep on, building goals, and we went to 15, and then I was like, right, 20, so we got there in December, and I thought, right, no more runners, but we carried on running them, and yeah, we're on 3 already this year.
And genuinely, had it always been, right, I'm going to train racehorses at some point, or was it just a kind of agglomeration of things and you ended up thinking, well, it's the next obvious thing to do?
Yeah, like I've sort of done everything else in racing. I obviously rode, if that's what you call it. I was sort of very average at it. Then I pre-trained and learn a lot from that. Some great horses, like calibre of horses, when you're having Frankels, Dubaris all the time, and you break them in and see them run. And then I gathered a few owners, and I thought, right, this is the next step.
So is it true then that if you know what a good horse is, and we'll go through some of the people you've worked for in a bit, but if you really know what a good horse is and you know what a good horse feels like and looks like, that then helps you when you start out yourself, because you've got something to relativise it to?
Yeah, no, definitely. So we broke in the likes of Defoe and things like that, and even then, I love a grey horse, but that horse, I was like, this is nice, Roger. Do you know what I mean? This is a nice horse, and look what he turned out to be. And it gave me an eye at the sales now, of what to look for. Obviously, I can't afford any of them, but ones which fall by the wayside, have little quirks. That is what I look for in trying to purchase a horse, whether it's being an older horse or a yearling. Yeah,
so you can understand that. You've got some degree of empathy with, ability.
Yeah, because obviously everyone looks for the strong, big horse, and that's what's got the price tag on, whereas you sort of have to go against something like that for what first-time trainers can afford.
So how big a risk is it to set up training in Newmarket, where there's however many hundred other trainers, in the middle of a pandemic?
A massive risk. If you ask anyone, they think you've probably lost your mind to do it. But I've got this far, and sort of what experience it has been in a whirlwind to this point, we can just keep progressing.
And are you quite a bloody-minded person like that?
Yeah, I'm very stubborn. And, I set my targets, my goals. At the beginning of the year, I'd have, so this year will be 30 winners, hopefully. Anything to build on that would be a bonus. But, even for horses, I sort of have targets for them, a plan A, a B, and a C. And obviously, sometimes those don't work, so you've got to go for plan D. But, yeah, I'm very much a straight-minded person like that. And
have you got the strength of character if you don't get to 30 winners this season to think, OK? Yeah,
you have to go, why didn't you get to that? Sort of what went wrong. But, we've already started on 3 so far, and it's halfway through January, so we've only got a few in now, and you've got the 2-year-olds to look forward to.
So dial it back for me. Where did it all start? Were you riding ponies and horses from a very young age?
Yeah, ponies, pony club, evented. We'd go up to 3-star, and I started life at Henrietta Knight's, which was that was bread and butter for me. That was this is it.
That must have been a bit of a dream. Just before you talk about Henrietta Knight, though, you say you rode to 3-star level, which, knowing a little bit about eventing, that's quite good. I mean, that's not far short of top-class level. And you were sort of playing down your achievements in the saddle earlier, saying, oh, right.
Well, it was sort of, when I was riding, I always managed to seem to have the horse in the right place in the race, and that's probably what's got me to 10 winners. I wasn't very good at the end, but that was my mindset of I knew what horse to follow, etc. And I think that's even in telling a jockey what to do now. That's one of some of the biggest parts of not being behind the wrong horse and being there. Yeah, I actually rode to 3-star level in my 20s when I was sort of pre-training. I did have a couple of eventers as well. I play it down because obviously I didn't make it in eventing, but it was a great experience and something that, unfortunate enough, I was meant to do my last 4-star, but it got abandoned due to the weather. But yeah, we did that.
Yeah, but there's yeah, right. You see, so you say you didn't make it. There's making it and there's making it.
Yeah, that's why I'm quite hard on myself.
Yeah, I noticed that already.
I'd be like, it's either black or white. There's no grey area.
Right.
That's what I'm like in everything. You know, even work in the yard for staff, it's either done right or there's no point doing it.
So this better go well.
This better go well.
Right, Henrietta Knight's a very, very good grounding.
Yep.
Tell me what she was like as a mentor, a taskmaster, a trainer.
So I actually wrote a letter for my work experience. They wanted to send me off to Sainsbury's or wherever. They wrote her a letter to her and she said, of course. Went there and she offered me a job back. Every horse is treated individually. That was the biggest thing that was in my mind and still to my mind now. They're not machines. If a horse needs a different bit on or different exercise, do that. You know, they aren't machines, and to keep on going forward that way. Yeah, what a woman. And even with Terry, like you'd have Terry on the gallops and Hen would be flapping somewhere else. But yeah, no, she was, even now I'm sure, you know, she'd be proud to see some of how her staff get on and how far I've got.
What era were you in there in the Hen and Terry?
So
period?
Best Mate had just retired.
Right.
You had the likes of Racing Demon there. That was sort of my era. Impec had just been retired, and yeah, that was it was an amazing experience.
So there was a lot of horses buzz around the yard. There were still people sending her lots of nice youngsters.
Yeah, she very much wasn't winding down then. She still had a full yard with her ducks, and yeah, she wasn't winding down, and it was a busy time there. And even what she's doing now is the pre-training sides of it with the schooling. I think take my hat off to her. And
are you still in touch?
No, not really. Like, I'd see her. She obviously helped me get my licence, things like that, because she wrote a letter. But I'd see her and, yeah, would chat away.
So what do you think you learnt from her?
Horses are not machines. Like, every horse has to be treated as an individual. You know, it's very much why I wouldn't want to get too big too quick, because then you glance over things. It's the tiniest of detail which probably make the difference.
But what if somebody says to you tomorrow, Alice, take 20 horses for me?
Sort of, you'd have to, but again, I'm very much of the aspect of a horse has to have the ability to win on the weights. There's no point taking training fees off owners because you're just demoralising yourself, the team. If you're sending a staff to Wolverhampton and the horse hasn't got a chance of winning, I'm having to think of excuses every time. But really, give a horse 3 chances in the yard. If it's got a chance of winning, you keep it. But if not, you've got to move it on and be realistic. Tell an owner, you know, cut your losses and we'll try and find something else.
So after you'd done your period, how long were you at Haynes for?
A couple of years. She sent me off to Mick Shannon's.
Okay. so slightly different.
Yeah. 1 minute you were being sworn at and the next minute you were Blossom. Sort of, that was the way Mick was. But, like, you learnt your work ethic as well there. You either made it or didn't there. You worked hard. I worked hard there, and I'd like to think he thought I worked hard. But I think work ethic's a massive thing now of you have to work, especially being a smaller trainer, you have to work 10 times harder than anyone else just to get an edge.
Mm-hmm. Were you happy, even then, young, in a big yard like Shannon's? Were you happy to succeed through hard work? Did you feel that was the right way to be judged? Yeah,
that's where I wanted to be like, oh, where's Alice? Or she is mucking out, as opposed to, or she's drinking tea or something. You know, even like Holly Doyle, she talks about that, of she'd be the only one in Hannon's carrying on mucking out, sweeping during break and things like that. And I think that's a way you don't want to be noticed for being the class clown or joking about. It's all very well to have the jokes, but my work ethic is something which I think I want to rise to the top.
And was that something imbued in you from a very, very early age? Were you born with that?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. That, you know, I worked hard, not all the time at school. I didn't scrape through, but I did pass everything. Didn't get high grades, but that was probably because I didn't try hard enough, really. And I'd prefer to be with the ponies, or in that respect. But I knew education, I wasn't going to go down those lines. I was going to do something different. And yeah, here I am now.
Are you somebody who'll only apply yourself to what you're interested in?
Yeah, probably. You learn now that you have to take interest in other things, but I'm very much sport related, so I could chat away to any conversation about sort of any sport and I'd fit in that way. But then if you start going off of the other lines, I've sort of switch off. And
were you quite a competitive sports person when you were younger, apart from the riding and the eventing?
Yep, like hockey.
Everything.
Hockey would be, because I always had not a bit of temper, a bit of anger, but I had that frustration and that sporting instinct. I needed a fast, furious game. Yeah, things like hockey would be with me.
So you need adrenaline, you need a buzz.
Yeah.
And you need something to really drive you forward.
Yeah, that's it.
And can training do that?
Yeah, because every day is not the same.
Okay.
Every day is definitely not the same. Like the buzz you have, even from like watching 2-year-olds now, watching the 2-year-olds come through that we all broke as yearlings. Like I like to have them in-house to break, because you learn so much about them, of their quirks and their different ways. Of course, you get some which has been broken other places, but just even things like that. That's what I got from the pre-training. You could go, I like this horse, I'm going to watch it and watch its career. And that's why I wanted all the yearlings in-house, because it's the adrenaline of being sat on for the first time, to running for the first time, to winning for the first time. That's what I like to see. And obviously, if I get bigger and grow, that's something which I won't always be able to do, but it's still something I want to be involved with.
How do you feel when the stalls open and there's a horse that you are trading and it's having its first run, when you see it emerge from the stalls and you're watching from the grandstand? How do you feel?
So we had a filly last year, Filly's Eagle, that won first time out at Doncaster. I always thought a lot of her, broke her in. This was even before I was training.
Were you the first person to sit on her?
Yeah. So I bought a few before I started training. Bought 4 yearlings, broke them all in, and then obviously I got my licence. Well, actually, I broke my leg in the middle of that off one of the yearlings, but that's a new story. And she ran in June. Owners weren't keen to run her. I said, this is good enough to win first time. So it was a little bit of a battle to get her there that morning. Anyway, she ran, stores opened, she broke well, but not as well as I thought she would have of what she'd done at home. Mm-hmm. And she then switched out, got a messy race, and then the moment she cut through the middle of them and she took off, and that was a feeling of like, Bridie, my assistant, was there. She doesn't always go racing, but she wanted to go with her. And yeah, no, it's like a feeling of relief when you know you've got something bang on. You know, you got it right that day. You knew what you had sort of 6 months ago, and you picked the race and everything's gone right.
Then you have to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And that, of course, is the hard bit, isn't it? Because you don't get to just luxuriate in your brilliance. You have to reinforce it over and over again.
Yeah, you do. And I'm very much of it is a business as well. So she got sold. If the price is right, every horse is for sale, unfortunately. But to keep on going and getting better horses in, I think that's what you have to do as well. You know, you'd love to keep hold of some horses, but if the price is right, they have to be sold. That's
interesting, because the other person who always reinforces that mantra is David Simcock, for whom you worked for several years?
I was there 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's a business. Yeah. And he can obviously afford the big, flashy yearlings, because he's looking for them as 3-year-olds. To run as 3-year-olds. It doesn't really matter if they don't run as 2-year-olds. Whereas they've got to be running as 2-year-olds, some of them, because I need runners and I need to be thought of. Even David says in this recent sales, he goes, you've got to get the 2-year-olds to get your name out there. You can have a few backwards ones, whereas I'm by the opposite type of horse to you. But yeah, no, he's very much like that.
Have you taken quite a bit from him, or are you just instinctively just quite well matched? Are you quite similar like that?
You know, people think that David is very relaxed and, you know, he takes his time. He's in a fortunate enough position, he can. But I think he's one of the best trainers out there in Newmarket because of that. And he can pick races. And you look, he's been bold enough. He had the horse that won first time, has gone straight to Dubai. He knows what he's got. Okay, yeah, he's got great owners behind him. But I think, yeah, he's one of the best trainers in Newmarket.
He is somebody who can present quite a relaxed exterior, but he's an intense competitor.
He is.
He lives it hard.
He lives it hard. You know, he'd bet. I remember always being there. He'd be up all night watching even baseball, having bets on things like that. But that's him. Like, he's so, again, adrenaline minded, and he always has this relaxed. You look at him and go, God, he's quite relaxed. Like, what's wrong? You know what I mean?
It's quite a skill, that, though, isn't it?
Very good skill, and he's such a good speaker. I think he is. You know, he knows exactly what's going on any day of the week, and he knows what to say about it. And I think that's something that I probably want to improve on as well.
Why do you think there aren't more women training?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it's a level playing field. I don't know if it's. A couple of people have said to me, this is completely off topic, but you look how many women trainers have got a family and gone and got pregnant and little things like that. It's sort of such a self.
Well, quite big things like that.
Yeah, but it's such a self. I think it's quite a selfish sport to be in.
Is it?
I think it is. Yeah, you're not off the phone. You're not. But this is something that I enjoy. It's not probably because I'm selfish at all, but it's something I live and breathe horses. Anything else can come along and go if it wants to.
And are you quite, you obviously are quite happy with that, but do you ever take a half step back and reflect on how much of your life you give to horses and this sport?
I do, but then I also ask my question, what else would I be doing? Like, I love pre-training, but this is for myself now, producing horses myself, getting my name out there, not helping other people. Now this is for me. And yeah, you have to step back and go, why am I doing this sometimes? This is, you know what I mean, intense. Like, I love going racing, so I work all morning, and I'd happily go to Wolverhampton for the 8 o'clock or the 9 o'clock, because I like to be seen out there. You don't want to be like, oh, where's Alice? She's had a winner. Oh, she's at home watching it on the TV. I like to be out there, you're meeting new people, and that's the way I want to be. And
how do you find the community of trainers in Newmarket have embraced you, welcomed you? Obviously, you were known a bit before because you were pre-training and riding, but when you're out there winning and you're competing against them, you become a slightly sort of different person.
Yeah, you do. Like, you always have the people that you're close to. Like, one of my very good friends is Amy Murphy. So, you know, not she helped me set up, but I went to her for advice because she's already done it. David Simcock would be a great mentor, and there'll be 2 people. But yeah, people are always there for the good days of well done. But when the bad days are there, you don't quite know what they're saying. But it's about the mentality. It doesn't really matter what they're saying. It's, again, in the day, it's you, the horses, and the team. And you've already had success, you know, taking horses from other trainers and turning them around and improving them. And Mr. Professor being a prime example from Ammo Racing. How big a deal was that for you, getting a big owner like Kia Jarobcin in the yard? Yeah, the day, obviously, I'd met Kia a few times, and Robson, who does a lot of his pre-training. That's Robson Aguiar, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. He rang me and said, Alice, there's a horse coming for you next week. And I said, oh, what's that? And he said, a horse, Mr. Professor. I said, oh, great. Only till it was in the yard, you realise this is real. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? A horse, which obviously was well backed a couple of times, been running over 5. You don't really know what you had. Gelded now, see where you are. But you are on a bit of pressure of try and get it right your first time, and we did. Basically, we were lucky. We had luck on our side the first time, and he went and won his first 2, and it was sort of like fantastic. This could be an okay horse. And then you're on a roll, and then suddenly you go to a stakes race. Well, that's it. We chucked him in the deep end, even at Newmarket, and the straight track just didn't suit him. He ran well in the nursery, and then the Group 3 just caught him out and rolled the dice. Ammo Racing had 2 in this race. Kia, I spoke to that morning, and he said to me, Alice, only run this horse, or it was the night before, which I sort of ignored him, only run this horse if you think he's going to do well, because he's in the sales the next week. So he put a bit of pressure on you. And I sort of ignored him Sunday night, and I texted him Monday morning and said, yeah, we're running, see how we get on. Horse is in great form, ground was unknown, but, you know, he's flea fit, he loves running his races back to back, and we had the right man on the for the job as well, Sylvester. Do you think that sort of bravery, that sort of innate courage is what's going to sustain you through your career, or is this just the exuberance of someone in their first season training thinking, to hell with it, I'm going to roll the dice? No, I'm very much, if my mindset says to do something, we will roll the dice. You know, I think it will miff people off along the way. However, if I get it right, they should be on my side. And this is what happened this day. He won. It was my first stakes winner, and I remember I was actually, I don't think it was COVID, but I was very sick that day. But I went there, it was raining a lot. You know, I looked like a little boy that day because I had a woolly hat on, and sort of no place to be there because of it. He won, and what an experience. And it was sort of, this is, not we've made it, but what a season. Couldn't dream of it. Like, beginning of the year, when you're looking at the yard, you've got 10 or 12 horses. I only want 10 winners. And then you're going to get your stakes winner, and I think it was the 17th winner. That was a shorter drive home, and you felt a lot better, I'm guessing. I felt a lot better, and I was sort of like, wow. Like, it was overwhelming because I didn't think it could happen, but to have a horse run in a listed race, which I didn't think would happen in my first season. And yeah, Mr. P, as he's called at home, sort of is a yardstick. And then he went and got a mark of 100, and we sort of said, right, what are we going to do with him now? There's not really the races for him over the winter. Obviously, he loves the all-weather as well. We'll roll the dice and we'll go to Dubai. Mm. And that's worked out well already. I mean, he finished third on Friday. Yeah, you know, he ran a great race. 7's his minimum trip, and this was always going to be a starting point. He'll run in the Jumeirah Derby trial next Friday, which is over 9 furlongs. He just lacked that half the gear, but then Rosser couldn't pull him up to down the back straight after finishing. So, you know, Kia says, how are we going to beat Godolphin? Which is always the same in Dubai. But it will just come to the fact of if they don't turn up that day, Mr. Professor hopefully will be there or thereabouts.
And as you say, he didn't lie down here, did he?
No, he battles, and like it was only as the horse came up the outside that he actually then passed, which was Hotline Bling, and he just lacks that turn of foot. But it was only 7 furlongs, so you know we picked up prize money for being third, and he's come out the race fine. So we'll roll the dice again next Friday.
It's funny, isn't it, how you can be in the early stage of your training career, and so many trainers have that guardian angel of a horse who just sort of appears for them. And so
yeah,
do you feel like he is it? I'm not saying he's going to win a Group 1. I'm just saying
he's it. He'll be there. You know, like even when he comes back, he'll be there on the trial days. He'll be 100% ready, whereas other people using it as a prep run, and hopefully he'll pick up the pieces in that way. You know, he's not a top class horse, but he's very much a top class horse in the yard.
Okay, so how attached have you got to him already?
Well, I ride him every day. He's my ride, but he was ever since he came, so I haven't given up that ride. And you know, he's such a character, and he loves his racing, which I think is a great part. You know, you can protect a horse a lot in not running them so frequently and target specific races. I look after the horse, of course, like 5-star, but they are, at the end of the day, you're not going to find out what they are or how good they are or win any prize money galloping them at home, doing that one extra gallop at home. Why don't you take them to the track and they might surprise you.
Okay, so if Kia turned around to you tomorrow and say, Alice, I've been made a nice big offer for Mr. Professor and the horse box is coming to pick him up tomorrow morning, how much would that test the line that you clearly walk between being very, very fond of these horses and getting very emotionally attached to them and your slightly more ruthless, more business-minded side?
Of course, he'll be going. I don't think I'll be there to say goodbye, but yeah, no, like, that's the way it is. And I'd then say to Kia, or send me something else. Do you know what I mean? That, you know, we've done what we can, and that's all we can do. At the end, Kia's very much a businessman, and so should any other owner. Like, owners do get attached to horses, but me providing a service will do the best I possibly can for the horse, whether it's winning a Class 6 or a Class 1, and then moving them on. We've got a number in the February sales because they've done what they can. They've won over the winter, and are they going to progress on for that? You know, they'll probably handicap themselves, come back down, and then they will win something, but it'd be best move on when they're at the top of their game, and we'll try and find something else.
What's been the most challenging part of this job so far? In a year, and it must have been a year where you have learned an incredible amount, even though you knew an incredible amount before you started.
When you think a horse is going to run well and it doesn't, disappointing myself is the biggest thing. You know, I don't big them up to owners of, you might say it might run well, but when you think it's probably going to run better and it doesn't, I think dealing with that is very much that.
And how do you deal with that yourself? I mean, for someone who's self-confessed as being so driven, so competitive, always wanting to win, hard on yourself if things don't go right, where's your outlet? Where does it go?
I go home and I watch things on repeat. So a programme like Suits and Prison Break, I've watched, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, because I can watch it but not watch it, and it's just a switch off and go to sleep. That's basically it. Like, I'm not a party animal. I'm before my time, but that's me. I would watch the same thing on repeat, and I've read somewhere about psychology. That's what some people do. Like, you look at Roger Federer, he likes 10 hours sleep at night. I wish I could do that, but I can't. I'll be up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I sort of do it that way. The mornings are very much my thinking time of planning.
That's very interesting. So you'll deliberately watch something you've already watched before?
Yeah. I do watch replays. Of course, I watch replays of the day, but you only watch them once or twice, and that be it. But I'd put on a programme that I've watched before to rewatch. I don't know why. It's just mindset, I think.
And although, albeit that you are clearly immersed in what you're doing, are you immersed in the sport as a whole? Are you interested in what everybody else is doing and how you fit into that ecosystem or not? Or are you just very focused on what's going on?
So I used to be. And it was Sylvester de Souza turned around to me and said, why are you interested in what that horse is doing? It's fine if it's running in your race, but he said, you'll come to learn that it's only about you and your horses. Yeah, you can look at the form of races. It's different, you know, when you're deciding whether to declare a horse and that horse is in it, etc. But in the general speak, if you haven't got any horses in that race, why are you interested in what any other trainer's doing? And it's right, and I've only sort of grown out of that halfway through last year of, it's basically, they don't care what I'm doing. Or they shouldn't care. Why should I care what someone else is doing?
But I wish all of us could could grow out of mindsets like that, and it's hard. I mean, there's a competitiveness which is really healthy, and competitiveness which is I suppose more destructive, I guess.
Yeah, because otherwise you're going to worry about it. Like if a horse got sold from the yard and went and won, that's fine. They've done that's absolutely fine. But if a horse was, of course, a horse is going to get bought from me and go and improve and do better. Mm-hmm. That is fine. And when that happens, I'm going to have to deal with it. But for now, don't worry about what. For me, I've got to worry about what I'm doing. The horses in the yard, the owners in the yard, the staff. It's just another worry if I'm going to have to worry about what someone else is doing. My mindset has got to be solely on, like, Alice Haynes Racing, not anyone else.
It's one thing having the pressure of looking after a load of other people's horses. It's another thing having the pressure of looking after other people's children, wives, husbands, parents, etc. Are you a good boss?
Yeah, but it's very much if you do something wrong, you've got to do it right in the first place. There's no point doing it. That's the way I've had some loyal staff, and a couple of the lads were with me in pre-training, and they've come back to me. Now I'm training, and yeah, we've got a good team, good assistant, secretary, and even the youth. We've got a couple of younger lads that are sort of half in school and half come to me at the weekends, and it's great to see them improve what they've done during the last year. When
you say you've got to get it right in the first place, otherwise there's no point in doing it, it suggests that the margin for error at Alice Haynes Racing is quite slim.
Yeah, I like one for lists. You know what I mean? When you do something, there's no point skipping anything because A, I'll spot it, or B, what's the point? It's going to take longer to do the first job in instinct.
You are evidently your own person, and you are forging very much a distinctive career of your own. But are there people around the world who do this job who you think, yeah, you've got it about right?
Well, I think someone like Gay Waterhouse.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking you might say
that. I went to Australia, but I never worked for her. I had friends that worked for her, but even if you look at her on Twitter and the things she says, like, she's an inspirational woman and she doesn't miss anything. I was reading something about, I was listening to something on Twitter about the sales, and she was like, there's no point walking it on that sort of ground. You have to walk on this. And she was very, I'd like to think I can't really do that in my second year of training because people were like, oh, God, here she comes again to look at horses. But it's something, again, she wants to do it right the first time. Mm-hmm. That's what I look at her, someone like her.
And she has that unbelievable stamina, work ethic.
And elegance as well. Like, for her age, she always looks outstanding. But the hours she puts into work, they start so early, and, yeah, she's an unreal woman. And
is presentation something that you believe is important in this job?
Yeah, I think it is. Like, I'm very much uniform, or even at the races, you'd spot my horses because they're in a bright red sheet. Like, people have said, presenters have said, oh, you can spot them, which is good. Like, it's a good thing to have. You only get first chances. You get a glance at someone the first chance. That's the thought that stays with people.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that you've made a pretty deep impression in a pretty short time as a trainer, and it'll be 30 winners minimum for you this season.
Yeah, hopefully.
I don't know why I'm kind of buying it at 30 at this stage. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks so much for coming in, and you're back to Dubai pretty much every week now until...
Yeah, back on. We'll sort of fly in and out this week, and yeah, we've got horses to train at home now for the season.
But again, I mean, that would be pretty tempting just to stay at home and let the Dubai thing run itself, but...
Yeah, and if he goes to run well or wins, I want to be there. Not just for the limelight, just to be there with the horse.
Right, well, thank you, and best of luck with him. Alice Haynes,